Right now, your garage door is telling you exactly which part is failing, and it is doing it out loud every single morning. So why does nobody hear it? Because almost nobody has ever been told which sound belongs to which part. That gap is worth real money, and not to you. A customer who rings up and says, "My door is making a noise," has just handed the man on the phone the diagnosis, the part, and the price, all three, before anybody has looked at anything. My name is Handy Jack. I hung garage doors for 30 years, and last time I showed you the grease job that quiets a door down. Some of you have done it, and the door is still loud. Good. That is exactly who this is for, because a door that is still noisy after a proper lubrication is not a dry door. It is a door with a fault, and the fault has a name. There are 5 sounds. Each one comes from a different part. Each one costs a different amount. And by the end of this, you will be able to stand in your garage, run the door once, and know which of the 5 you have got. I have put them in order of what they cost you, cheapest first, and the last one is the one that ends with somebody handing you a bill for 4 figures. Before any of it, do this once. Pull the release cord so the door is off the opener, and raise and lower it by hand, slowly, listening. Then hook it back up and run it on the opener and listen again. If the noise is there when you move it by hand, the noise is the door. If the door is silent by hand and only makes the sound under power, the noise is the opener. You have just cut the problem in half, and it cost you nothing. Number 1, a chirp or a dry squeak that moves with the door. This is the cheap one, and it is the one most people have. It follows the door, it is highest as the panels go round the curve at the top of the track, and it comes from rollers and hinges that have gone dry. $8 of white lithium grease, 20 minutes, and it is gone. If you have already done that and the chirp came back within a month, the roller itself is finished, the bearing inside has opened up, and no amount of grease stays in there. Nylon rollers are around $20 for a set of 10, and that is the fix. And that is number 1, and it is the one that is genuinely nothing. But if you have done that and the door is still loud, keep listening, because the next 4 are the ones that get sold. Number 2, a rattle or a clatter, like a sheet of tin, mostly on the way up. This is play. Something has gone loose. A garage door shakes 10,000 times over its life, and every one of those cycles works on the fasteners, so hinge bolts back out, track bolts loosen, and the bracket lags creep. What was a tight assembly is now a slightly loose one, and loose steel talks. Take a socket wrench and go round every bolt you can reach on the hinges, on the track, and on the brackets. Snug, not gorilla, because if you strip a hole, you have made a much bigger job than the one you started with. Now the part people miss. Go and look at the 2 vertical tracks where they meet the wall. If one of them has drifted, even slightly, the rollers are running at an angle, and the door will rattle its way up no matter how tight your bolts are. That is a bracket adjustment, and it is free, and I went through it properly a couple of videos back. Number 3, a scrape or a grind that gets worse at one particular point in the travel. This is the one that tells you something is bent, and it is the one worth catching early. Watch the door go up and find the exact height where the sound happens. Then close it and go and look at that spot on the track with a torch. You are looking for a dent, a flat spot, a place where the track has been clipped by a car mirror or a ladder, or a section where the track is pulled away from the wall and left a step at the joint. A roller running over a dent makes a very distinctive noise, and the roller loses. It wears flat on one side, then it starts to bind, then it takes the hinge with it. Caught early, it is a track you can sometimes ease back into shape, or a single section to replace. Left for a year, it is a track, a set of rollers and 2 or 3 hinges. There is a second version of this one that catches people out, and it is worth knowing about because it is free to fix and it looks exactly like a broken part. Go and look at where the curved section of track meets the horizontal section that runs back into the garage. Those 2 pieces are joined, usually with bolts through a bracket, and that joint can work itself out of line over the years. When it does, you get a step at the seam, and every roller in the door bumps over that step twice a day. The sound is a rhythmic knocking as the door goes up, 1 knock per roller. evenly spaced. Once you know to listen for it, you cannot unhear it. Loosening those bolts, easing the two sections back into line, and tightening them again is a job with no parts in it at all. It is also the single most common thing I found on a door that somebody had already had two people out to look at. And how often should any of this be checked? Twice a year is fine for most houses. But somebody in the comments on the original of this video makes a point worth repeating, which is that he does his 4 times a year because he lives on the Atlantic coast and the salt air corrodes everything faster. The same goes if you are on a gravel road or somewhere with real winters and road salt getting carried in on the car. The door does not care what the calendar says, it cares what is landing on it. So how are you supposed to describe any of this to somebody on the phone? That is the whole point of this video, and it is worth saying plainly. If you have only just found this, I am Handy Jack, and I spent 30 years walking up driveways. Somebody in the comments on the original of this said the best thing about learning the parts was that he no longer has to call everything a thingy. That is not a small thing. That is the entire negotiation. When you can say my third roller from the bottom on the left is grinding at about waist height, and I think the track has a dent, you get a technician who checks the track. Ugh. When all you can say is it is making a noise, you get whatever is on the truck, so let me hear yours. Down in the comments, describe the sound, not the word noisy, the actual sound. Chirp, rattle, scrape, bang, groan. Tell me where in the travel it happens, and tell me whether it does it by hand as well as on the opener. And if anybody has quoted you, put the number in, because those figures are all over the map, and none of us finds out what normal looks like unless we say them out loud. And if you have got somebody in your life whose door has been getting louder for a year, and who keeps saying they will get someone out to look at it, send them this. 60 seconds of listening is cheaper than a call-out. Number 4. A bang, a pop, or a hard slam at the start or the end of the travel. Now we are on the opener, and now the numbers change. If the door lands hard on the floor or slams up into the top of the travel, that is almost always the travel and force settings on your opener, rather than anything broken. There are adjustment screws or buttons on the unit, the manual tells you which, and setting them properly takes about 5 minutes. That is a free fix that plenty of people pay for. If the bang is a single sharp crack right as the door starts to move, look at the arm that connects the opener to the top of the door and the trolley that arm hangs from. Play in that joint makes a knock every time the direction changes. A worn trolley is a part, and it is not an expensive one. There is one more on the opener that sounds alarming and usually is not. If you get a rhythmic slapping or clicking that speeds up as the door speeds up, look at the chain or the belt along the rail. A chain that is stretched over the years goes slack, and a slack chain slaps the rail. Nearly every opener has a tensioner at one end, and taking up that slack is a job with a spanner and no parts. Do not over-tighten it. A chain that is drum tight puts load straight into the gear you are about to hear me talk about. And if the opener makes a grinding or whirring noise but the door barely moves, or moves and then stops, that is very often the plastic drive gear inside the opener head. It is a known wear part on a lot of units. The gear kit is inexpensive, and whether you do it yourself depends on how you feel about taking the cover off a machine bolted to your ceiling. That is a fair job to pay for. Just know that you are paying for a gear kit and an hour, not for a new opener, and if somebody quotes you a new opener without opening the old one up, get another opinion. So which of these actually ends in a big number? Only the last one, and here it is. Number 5. A deep groan, a strain, or one enormous bang like a gunshot. This is the spring, and this is the 4-figure conversation. Take the two of them separately, because they are not the same problem. The gunshot is unmistakable. People describe it as a bang loud enough that they thought somebody had fired a gun in the garage, or that something had fallen through the roof. That is a torsion spring letting go, and when it happens, there is no diagnosis needed. Your door will be extremely heavy or will not lift at all, and you will be able to see the gap in the coil from 6 feet away. That is a call a professional, full stop, and I want to be very clear about it. A torsion spring holds an enormous amount of stored energy, and the tools to wind one are specific. This is not the weekend job. The groan is the one worth catching before the bang. If the opener sounds like it is straining, if the door judders on the way up, if it feels heavy, that is a spring that has lost its balance and is making the opener do work it was never designed to do. Your opener is meant to guide a door that is already almost weightless. When the spring goes soft, the opener carries the difference, and then you get to buy a spring and an opener instead of just a spring. Here's the check, and it costs nothing. Pull the release, put the door about halfway up, and let go. A healthy door stays roughly where you put it. If it slides down or shoots up, the spring is out of balance, and it is time. If it sits there, your spring is fine, and whatever else is going on, that is not it. But do that test with your feet clear and nothing underneath the door, and do not stand in the opening while you do it. If the spring is far enough gone that the door comes down, you want to be beside it, not under it. While you are looking up there, count your springs. Plenty of doors have two, and there is a thing worth knowing about that. When one of a pair goes, the sensible answer is nearly always to replace both, because they were fitted on the same day and have done the same number of cycles, and the second one is not far behind. A tech who tells you that is not upselling you. He is right, and paying one call-out fee instead of two is the cheaper end of it. That is the difference between an upsell and honest advice, and knowing which is most of what this channel is about. What you should push back on is a spring quote that arrives with a new opener attached to it, when nobody has run your door by hand to see whether the opener was ever the problem. Now the part I would rather not say. The single most profitable sentence in this trade is it is making a noise. I have taken that call hundreds of times, and in 30 years I do not remember once, not one time, being told to ask the customer to run the door by hand first and tell me whether the sound was still there. It would have taken 15 seconds on the phone, and it would have told us immediately whether we were bringing a roller kit or an opener gear or a pair of springs. Nobody asked, because the truck is going out either way, and a man who does not know what is wrong does not argue about what it costs. So here is your sentence, and this is the one I want you to keep. Before you write anything down, tell me which part is making the sound, and let me hear it with the door on manual. A good tech will love that question. He will pull the release himself, run the door by hand, cock his head, and tell you it is the third roller, or it is the trolley, or it is your springs, and he will be right, and you will pay him gladly. The other kind will keep talking about age and wear and how these things do not last, and he will not touch the release cord. You have learned everything you need to know, and it took you about 11 seconds. Let me put you in the moment, because this one is specific. It is Tuesday morning. The door has been getting louder for months, and this morning it made a proper bang. The fellow arrives, listens to it run once on the opener, does not touch the release cord, and says the springs are going, and while we are at it, the opener is on its way out too. He writes down a number with 4 digits in it, and he is holding the pen. Do you say the sentence, or do you nod? Be honest down there, because I have watched a lot of people nod, and I understand exactly why. He is the expert. He is standing in your garage, and asking feels like an accusation. It is not. It is a question with a right answer. So there is your 5, and here is the whole of it. Run the door by hand first, because that tells you whether you are chasing the door or the opener. A chirp is dry rollers, and it is $8. A rattle is loose bolts and a track that is drifted, and it is free. A scrape at one spot in the travel is a dent in the track, and it is the one to catch early. A bang at the ends of the travel is your opener settings, and a grind with no movement is a drive gear, not a new opener. And a groan or a gunshot is the spring, which is the only one on this list where the right answer is to pick up the phone. 5 sounds, 5 parts, 5 very different numbers. And the only reason that ever gets confused is that nobody hands homeowners the vocabulary. There is no service call in teaching you to say trolley instead of thingy. There are good, honest techs out there, and I work next to plenty of them, but the way the money is built, it rewards the truck rolling, not the 15-second question on the phone that would have told everybody what was actually wrong. Well, now it has been said, go out to your garage tonight, pull the release, and run that door up and down by hand with nobody talking. Whatever you hear, you now know what it is called and roughly what it costs. Come and tell me what it was and what anybody quoted you, because I read every one of these, and I answer the ones I can. And subscribe if you would rather fix it than finance it, because next time we are going after the way people actually get into a closed garage, which takes about 6 seconds, needs nothing but a coat hanger, and has a fix that costs less than a cup of coffee. My name is Handy Jack. Go and listen to your door. I will see you next time.